Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Lisa Florida. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8 Billion Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Florida, and today we have our continued episodes of Season 5D, someone very special to me. She is a ghostwriter, nonfiction developmental editor, and podcast host of the Metamorphosis Monologues. If you're on a personal transformation journey and you want to write about it, that's what she's here to help you do through the power of writing, storytelling, and self-healing. To help me welcome Shari Reinhart to the 8 Billion Podcast. How are you doing, Shari? I've been so excited to record this podcast.
You know what? I've really been looking forward to this and anticipating getting to spend more time with you. Now we're just sharing our conversation with others, which I hope to contribute in some way, in some meaningful way, to at least one person who is listening. I guess we do it one person at a time, the 8 billion.
Right, we do. And that's what I'm saying. Shari actually has she's got a beautiful story that I am, so proud to actually be able to share today. We've got so much to cover. But if anything, the reason that I did this season was to show all the guests and the audience that in this movement, in this mission, all anchored in love, that everyone comes from all facets of life. Shari particularly is a ghostwriter, and so I'm like, oh, perfect, I need a writer and a copywriter. But we'll see where the alignment happens, because Shari has so many clients that she writes for, and I wanted to have her at least talk about her journey. So
I'd be happy to share with your audience a little bit about what I do and why I do it, and especially that niche market I have for those who are on a healing path. And then I can add to that and share my very recent personal story of having to heal from a tragic loss of a member of my family. So why don't we do that?
I love that.
Okay.
I love how you set the outline, because this is conversation style, and this is the best part of the podcast.
So I'm going to do my best to kind of stick to that program, but wherever it goes, it goes. So basically, yes, I am a writer. I do work with people who have a story to tell about something hard that they've gone through. And what I've noticed is that the more work I do in meeting people on their spiritual and healing journeys, the more somehow they find me or I attract them. There's no effort. I don't do any marketing. I don't do any explicit marketing, I'll say. So, when we talk, and I love that you're all about the 5D, because although that might not be the language I tend to use in this space that I'm living in now, I realize that my life is not a singular kind of like, it's not in a silo. We are so interconnected with the past, with the present, with the future that is unknown to each other. I only met you through technology, through a screen, and I feel that connection. And I think the more we understand that energetic tie we have to all things in all time, no matter where, we attract somehow this higher space of living. And I don't know how else to say that, because the more work I do meeting people at this level, the more I understand we are all on that path. So yes, I write books for people who are on healing journeys or have healed from something really traumatic. And we end up connecting on levels way beyond the writing, editing, and publishing work that we do together.
Sure. I just wanted to chime in and say, I had just posted something this morning on Instagram, and I said, hold your frequency, because everything is energy, frequency, vibration. And I talked about that. I said, even just 2 years ago, it was just a vision in my heart that I felt so deeply, and I followed that, and I built 8 billion by myself. Because of course you see so many people, like, it's hard not to get caught up on social media, because you're literally watching influencers who have built multi-million-dollar businesses, and they have the resources to market. But I'm just like you. I found you through a guest collaboration on Facebook. And
Mhm.
everyone that came up to me almost in season 5D were saying, like, I usually circulate that to find guests, I mean, to find podcasts for my clients or other people, but they felt so called when they saw my, you know, my call out for this season because it was very specific.
Mhm.
And another thing too, when you're saying using 5D, you know that I have a connection to my guides. They were saying you cannot mask it anymore, Lisa. Like, you can, you started 8 billion, and maybe along the way I didn't know specifically it was 5D. And as I spiritually grew, I did. But there was a point I did know it. And I was not necessarily hiding it for wrong reasons. It was just that I thought that it would be harder for people to comprehend, or it would
Mhm.
be too out there. And when I did the specific call out, it was like, wow, my niche market just came into play like crazy.
I mean, that's really the gorgeousness of just rising higher in our own consciousness. And I love that you said your spirit guide said you can't mask it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much in there that I think people will relate to. Now, whether you use the language, mask it, or your guides are letting you know that, but even in my own spiritual path, I know for sure that I was afraid of it, because I was really afraid of these like inner callings, these little twitches. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my heart would race when I would get excited about something that was yet to even be anything. Like,
Yes.
you have an idea. Listen, my writing career, honestly, when I started, I was writing speeches. And I thought that was like, whoa, look at me. I'm getting paid to write speeches and wedding greetings, like the bride of the father of the groom. Like, it was ridiculous. I was making no money, but I was getting paid to write. And I was like, oh, this is the be all and end all. And then as I grew and as I was able to sit with myself and respond and listen to the guides and listen to the gut and really tune into myself, the more I did that, the more I manifested these ideas and they became
Mm-hmm.
concrete. And I have a career now. And honestly, I did not have a business plan. I didn't know what I was even doing. I was just listening to the call and allowing it.
I'm so glad you said that because Shari, maybe we talked about this. I told everyone, I said, 8 billion project is well beyond a podcast. The vision is a big multimedia,
Mhm.
project. But I told them, I was just like, when I started the podcast, usually people start a podcast, have 5 to 10 episodes, and then they launch. I said, I started the podcast and I had to go find my first guest.
Right.
And then in 6 months, I was ranked globally top 10% on listen notes. And then a month later, I went down to 5%. And I was just like, how? Everyone's like, how did you do it? And I was like, I don't know how I did it. I just listened to my inner guidance.
That's how you did it.
That's exactly how I did it.
Right? I'm sure you've heard it, and I'm sure your listeners have heard this so many times, but we get in our own way. Forget the how. Because we're so concretized in our methodology. Right? We know there's a linear path that we're supposed to follow. This is what we've been told. This is how we've been conditioned. This is how the world works. Society is structured in such a way that we have to just follow this linear path, get all the degrees in college and university, get the good job, get the whatever. We all know that story. But and then we, with that story, we can think about how. But when you drop that and you're in this kind of like space of like this space of like, I'm not really in that linear life, but I don't know what that other life is. And you just have to, like, it's the letting go of how that opens the space for
Yep.
and what is meant to. And you're 8 billion. What a great example of that.
Oftentimes I've heard people reference to it as the liminal space, the space in between, right? Or the chasm, the dip,
Yes.
right? And that's what it is. It's like everyone's all like, it's that void, but people often reference or think of a void and they attach some fear to it. But it's that place, like I said, I even in my post this morning, I said, hold your frequency right now. It's hard to choose because there's a lot of shifting ground with the energy shifts that are happening. and the universe is trying to take you to your highest self. But in that process, you're having to drop the dissonance, the discord, all the fear. And it feels there's times where I know some of my friends in this space are like, I feel like I'm dying. You're not, but you know what I mean? The depth
Yeah.
of emotion is so deep.
Who did I just read? First of all, the word void that's the word I like to use for it,
Yeah.
because there's nothing and there's everything. There's this spaciousness,
Yes.
but there's this emptiness, and it's really hard to describe, and it's really hard to feel okay or safe there. But it is where all the good stuff that we say we want, that our heart and soul
Mhm.
desires, that's where it all starts to happen. But I just read such an interesting post about, I follow Dr. Nicole LePera, the holistic psychologist, on Instagram. She's brilliant. She has millions and millions of followers, and she really talks about the healing work. And she was saying, oh, she has so many of her followers and clients, people who buy her workshops, who always say, but I don't understand why it's not easy. Like, this transformational work that we do, it should be kind of beautiful. Well, yes,
Mhm.
the end result is beautiful, but when is the work ever easy? When is
Yeah.
anything that you really want in life handed to you on a silver platter? It's not.
Yeah.
The work, and that's messy and that's hard, but that's what raises you up a little more out of the 3D. I mean, we live here, we still need a roof, we still need to have an income or what have you, but it doesn't mean that is all. That's so limited to think that that's all we're capable of having or
Yeah.
doing, or like you have, putting that out in the world, or me, one client at a time. The healing work that we do together just keeps raising that vibration, right? The more that
Yeah.
people are doing that.
Well, sure. I'm pretty sure for me, like the depth of your spirituality and where you are, where did it start for you though? I'm pretty, yeah.
I had a few pivotal moments, and I had a few, I guess, dark nights of the soul, I guess is what you can call them, where I kind of just, it really the first time I realized, wait a minute, this is not the life I want. I am not happy in this life that I created. I thought I wanted all these. I thought I wanted this career. I thought I wanted to stay home and raise my children. I thought everything that I was raised to believe were my own beliefs. And then one day, and I remember so clearly, I had my 3 little kids at the kitchen table, and it was a Friday night dinner, which was, for us, that was the night that we all ate together. And I dropped into bed at 9 p.m. after finishing doing all the cooking, all of this, all of that. And I was just exhausted and resentful and unhappy. And I fell into bed and I go, I don't like my life. But like, I'm like seriously bought into this life. I'm married more than a few years now. I have my 3 children. This is what I said I wanted. What's wrong with you? And I started to question every single one of the beliefs that I took into my new life as a wife and a mother, from my childhood life that my parents gave me, right?
Yeah.
And every single thing that I was doing, and it took me about 3 months to understand, wait, I get to decide who I am, what I believe, what my values are, and I get to bring that to my family now and change the patterns that were really unhealthy. And that's where my work really started, but it never ended. It doesn't end.
That is incredible because you do. And I've written about that. I said you do have a choice.
Yeah.
You can choose from a place of just choosing, or you can decide based on your past and anything like anything that hurts you. So you can just choose to break free from it because people don't believe that they have choices. It takes us a while with the human constructs of our mind coming from where we have been living for many years and many decades and generations. I know it is hard, but this is why I'm hoping that the work that I do, and Shari with the work that she does, helps all of you guys in the audience understand that there is something greater there and you do have these choices. I have 35 guests for this season telling you all you have a choice.
Yeah, and it's just a question of, and I say just, and I mean really, it's a simple thing to stop your track of thinking and just go, whoa. I'm not saying change it. That's not so simple. That's a rewiring. That's a whole, we're ingrained. We have a neural pathway that just causes us to keep doing what we're doing and thinking what we're thinking. I mean, that science is showing that more and more. However, we do have a choice in questioning the thought, in bringing an awareness to a thought. And when you question a thought that isn't serving you, suddenly there's this opportunity for you to examine what you're committed to and if it's working for you or not, and how you might be able to change that. So it's really up to us. I think, I mean, I used a lot of help. I worked with spiritual guides. I worked with naturopaths. I worked with a life coach, several life coaches. I worked with a business coach. I read every book. Name the book. I probably read it. The webinars. I mean, it's a commitment to the self.
It is. It is absolutely that. And it's incredible, like what you were saying, like you don't market. Now it's everything has become simply like you've attracted it. And now all the clients that you work with are either asking for your services to write because of their healing journey. Or could you elaborate more on some of the projects or the work that you're doing for
Thank
people?
you for asking. Actually, yes, I find that a lot of people in the coaching industry have gone through their own stuff, and they figured out, okay, how to work through their stuff. And by stuff, I mean, it could be burnout. It could be a traumatic experience. It could be a violent act against them or betrayal or what have you, but something that really brought them down to their knees. And after they worked it out, they figured, wait a minute, I really have a story to tell. And after they work it out, they create these programs based on the modalities or the processes that they used to come out through the other side and have a life they love. And they want to talk about it because they know they've helped people in their careers, and they just want to reach a larger audience to spread the word. Everything is doable. You can get over the hard things, and here's how. So the books that I write do discuss the healing process. It's usually memoir driven with process oriented exercises or activities that are offered in each chapter as a supplement to their book. So there's memoir / teaching books, and I have met the most, like, I'm sure you interviewing all these people, people all over the world that come from a million different backgrounds. I'm just blown by how much alike we are in the end. Our stories are different, our cultures are different, our ages, our skin color, our everything is different. And yet we are not.
Right. Isn't it incredible though, Shari? Like we are literally just scratching the surface of this new era right now. And so in reality, there really is a very small population of us. But yet whatever has happened in the universe and these energies and time fields collapsing has all kind of brought us all together now. And that's what I feel. Like I feel like as much as I still have a lot of my family and friends, and they're not necessarily on the spiritual journey, they're there to love and support me. And maybe they might think it's weird, but everyone else, it's like my soul tribe. I literally attracted a soul tribe in one season.
Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. And that just keeps feeding you and you gravitate more and more to this substance that you're bringing into your life and putting out there into the world. And I do want to say something that I've been thinking a lot about, because it keeps showing up in my forgiveness work that I do, because I had a lot of anger and resentment to, I will admit, my parents, but also that entire generation. Well, not entire, but it was very hard coming out of world wars and coming out of famine and having to immigrate from war-torn countries. And I feel like that generation of people did not have time to care about how you feel.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, that's done, somehow we've evolved. We've turned fire, a good deal of that fire and that work ethic and that let's make a better life for our children, from the practical into more of the spiritual, something more esoteric. And I want to say that in my forgiveness work, um, of how I was not loved the way I felt, the way I knew I needed to be loved. I needed to be seen. I needed to be heard. I needed to be accepted.
Yes.
And back in the day, our parents were too busy to really see us, to hear us, to accept us. And I'm speaking generally ours, but I know so many of the books I write and the people that I meet on my podcast come from that family trauma of like, where was I in this picture? Like,
Yes.
where was I? How did I fit in? Thank you. You bought me an education. That's great. But I am a mess. I suffer from mental illness. Like I don't know who I am, all that stuff. So I just want to say that in my forgiveness work, I want to mention that we are of an entire new way of thinking and doing and being than generations past. I really believe that. And we're doing it more and more, coming together in community. I don't even know you, and we're part of the same community.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot about the expansiveness of this kind of like spiritual movement.
Yes.
And it's
Huge.
exciting. It's exciting.
It's really exciting. That's why I'm saying, even in just trusting this journey, though, Shari, like I had no clue. Like I was like, okay, I'm done with season 4. And then season 5 comes along, and my guys are like, you're doing season 5D. And I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden, I interview all of these guests. And then the shift happens, and I'm there to actually put out a whole season on everything that's happening, coming from all facets of the world, all different industries, people that have decided to follow their passion and are showing everyone that they can do it.
Yeah.
And just like you're doing it through writing, I'm doing it through sharing sharing
Mhm.
stories through podcasts and eventually documentary film. So
Mhm.
and you're right, there is, like, in your forgiveness thing, it's a constant surrender every day. I know that my life is a dream, but there are moments I am scared because it's the universe and our guides will always do what's best for your highest good, so it's going to stretch you. And then, like, I was even sharing with my son, I said, you need to stop looking at the outside because everything starts from the inside, right? Yeah. Everything starts from the inside. So when you stop blaming the outside, you'll start taking responsibility for everything inside, and then your whole outer world will change.
Yeah, it's so amazing how true that is. And really, I know with experience over and over and over again, every time I'm in a scene and I give my power away to something external or someone outside of myself, it's never right. And it's interesting.
Mhm.
I have 3 adult children, and one kid will always say to me, I don't understand. You're so closed. You always say no. Like, why don't you just try this? Why don't you just try that? And I'm like, when you turn my age with the work that I have done, you will see why I say no. It's because I said yes to all those things before, and they didn't serve my highest good. But you will
Right?
never understand that because you weren't even born yet, you know?
No, exactly. A big part of this healing journey of self-love is learning the healthy boundary of no.
Yeah, no is really a solid self-care word, and
Mhm.
it is not offensive. There are beautiful ways to say, I'm opting out. They are never personal. I never get personal. I'm one of the most diplomatic people I know. And when I catch myself being, a little less diplomatic, I will apologize for it, because I believe we all have a right to be who we are. And no matter where we are in the process, no matter where we are in our journeys, you know, it's okay. It's okay. And we that's how should I say, how beautiful it is for me to even be able to say to my son, no, because no, I'm not defending my no. I'm making you see that it's me taking care of myself. And,
Yes.
and, and when I'm saying no, it's like, no, I don't want to go spend a day at your house babysitting my granddaughter.
I was curious because I'm all like, I can't imagine you saying no to a lot of things though, Shari. And
No,
that was
no, seriously, you need me to spend a day at your house. That's cool, but I need you not to call me at 10 and say be here for 10:30. That's a no. I'm
yes.
sorry. I mean, unless, God forbid there's something wrong or yeah,
Yeah.
and he really needs me. But if it's because you're tired, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's just, or try this new food. Thank you. I mean, I had that one 6 years ago. I don't want that. Well, like it's the silliest, most mundane thing, and it becomes a point of conversation because let's face it, when you're in your mid-20s, you're in pure exploration mode. The world is at your fingertips. You want to try, you want to explore, you're very adventurous. After you've done it, you know what you like and you know what you don't like.
And you're absolutely right, because no opens the space for you to just create more of more of the space for the yes, right?
That's where I'm
Yes,
going with that.
right? Because if not, you'd be spending hours there in the no. And Shari, I am such a people person. And in this spiritual journey, just because now I've just so tuned in and tapped into my energy field, I'm not saying that everyone holds bad energy, but I'm just saying that I dealt with 4 decades of trying to figure out what was my energy and my feelings and everything, that I'm all like, if I've cleared that out, if I've spent so much money on this healing process or have done the work, and it's not even the money, it's like, I'm going to keep it as clean as I can. And sometimes that is more like, friends are just like, what do you do? Well, I just want to go to the beach by myself.
Thank you very much for saying what I struggled getting across, but that's exactly what I'm speaking to.
Yeah. As much as I'm very much a people person, I love this connection here. I love connecting with so many other people outside of this. My space is my space.
Yeah. And a lot of us on this path are very empathic people.
They are very.
So, and I only learned over the past like 10 years how not to let my energy seep out so that I'm depleted, and how not to absorb everyone's energy, which I was a sponge and I was exhausted all the time. I suffered from autoimmune disease. And I realized that one part of that was that I was like fixing everyone and saving everyone. So if someone was sad, I became sad with them, like really sad with them. And we did say we would talk about my recent loss.
Yes.
And I will say to that, like, thankfully, I'm very, very grateful that I learned how to close those channels, because all my family members are grieving now. So for your audience, 2.5 months ago, my sister was hit by a Dodge Durango and she died on impact. She was 66 years old and she had her retirement ahead of her and a move to Israel, which is where she wanted to be living all her life. And she had that move coming up for her, and her life was taken. And it was obviously a great surprise to get a phone call and hear the news. But speaking to that empathic channel, which was always so wide open, had I not done that work, I would not be talking to you today. Right. I would not be okay. That work and so much of the other work of this gorgeous journey through life. So yeah.
I know. I just wanted to let the audience know. Shari was on deck for me to do the pre-podcast interview, and she said, unfortunately, she's going to have to decline or reschedule because she lost her sister. And I said, please take all the time you want. You will always have a voice here on 8 billion. And interestingly enough, I heard from Shari just a few weeks after that, and she said, I'm ready. But sometimes it is that, like even losing my mom, when I open up the channel to send you so much love, right? To hold that space for you. It gives you even the ability. It's this profound sense of love and peace that you get from everyone.
I'd love to speak to that because I am so curious about this magical process of one shock, processing the shock of
Mhm.
getting that kind of a phone call, and to the grief. I thought I would be a mess for much longer than I
Mhm.
was a mess. But I really believe that I was held up. I know that I was, because what happened for me was, okay, so my brother called, my sister lived in New Jersey, and my other brother also lived in New Jersey, 2 hours away from her. He's the one who had his doorbell ring. They found him and he got the news, and then he gave me the news. I'm living in Montreal and I have my parents in Montreal as well. So I had to break the news to my parents the next morning, because it was too late, and it was advised that we give them a full night's sleep. So we went through all of that. We went through all the making the arrangements. We had the funeral and all of that. And I held my parents' hands through the first couple of weeks of it, almost quite literally. We were holding each other up. But what I noticed about my own process was that I allowed grief to hit me whenever it came.
Mhm.
And I didn't question it. I didn't fight it. I didn't push it aside. I didn't say, no, I need to work now. I mean, work was off the table. I called all my meetings off and everything. And my clients were all very kind and they gave me the time I needed. But I spent 9 full days with nothing but my grief and allowing it. And that is, I think, that coupled with all the loving support of
Mhm.
my friends, I think that is what got me to manage.
Sherry,
Okay.
I just wanted to speak to that on top of what you just said. And I want to really share this with the audience. With the energy field and the shift, like we were talking about, that just really happened, especially in the last few months. What's happening is I've been sharing this with people saying timelines are collapsing. What is taking people years and months to get over, people are moving through the process in literally days. Like I specifically have a good friend of mine who shared with me at the beginning of the year that she was never able to get pregnant. She ended up getting pregnant and she miscarried. And so here she is in her 40s, is such a glorious, event that happened for her, but then it's also on the bittersweet side. I mean, it's a bittersweet event. She loses it. And she goes, I process it so fast. But she goes, what I took from it was the fact that I never thought I could get pregnant. And the fact that she did, she was like,
Wow.
that was a gift in and of itself. But that's what I'm saying, is that so many things are happening on such deep, profound levels. And our ability as human beings to really take that in, allow the grieving to like take place and then shed it. I mean, like, Sherry, I commend you. Like, I heard from you within I think 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was with you reaching out.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was incredible.
I let my higher self, I feel like this is my higher self guiding me through all of it and telling me when I'm ready for something and when I'm not. I really feel like this. I mean, I guess this is one facet of spirituality, is allowing your higher self to kind of be your companion in
Yep.
a way, like recognizing it, because it was beyond me in many ways. I also am very grateful and very lucky that I didn't have to deal with regret, which,
Mhm.
when you have loving lifetime relationships, in this case with my only sister, um I looked back on our entire lives together. I have no regret. She knew I loved her.
Yep.
Yeah, we had relationship. And honestly, it's a strange thing, Lisa, because literally, I think it was 5 or 6 days before this happened, she said, I want to thank you, Shari. I want to thank you for allowing me to choose my lifestyle. We lead very, very different
Different.
lifestyles. She's extremely religious and dogmatic, and I don't want anything to do with dogma. And we somehow managed to always overcome our differences in the most loving way. So all that to be said, she was thanking me for being the kind of open person that I am, that we can maintain this relationship. Because with religion, at least with my sister, in her practice of religion, there were a lot of limitations placed.
Yeah.
There were a lot, anyways. And I got to say to her, don't thank me. We have relationship and I love you. And like 5 or 6 days later, the accident happened. Like, is that 5D, Lisa? Tell me what that
That's
is.
what
Tell
I'm
me what
saying.
that is.
Like, no, well, Shari, that's what I've been trying to say, is that our bodies know before we do sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'm not even saying sometimes, I think it's all the time now as we merge into 5D, right? You start to realize you're already doing things like, and that's why they say, like, keep your body a clear vessel, because it's what once we get to this place in 5D, it's just literally like there's no, you could literally ask for a private plane and it'll just land in front of your face.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty cool thing.
It is pretty cool. We're going to get there, Shari. I'm telling you, I'm going to will it onto this earth.
I'm hanging out with you, girl.
Yeah.
Spending more time with you, girl, because
And
I like the sound of that.
And you know what was interesting? I had just came back from Costa Rica and I did plant medicine. And literally everything that the Divine Mother showed me in my vision was things that I kind of had, like, okay, I can't, if I close my eyes and envision it, but like being under plant medicine, really, I was like, whoa, they are not kidding. I mean, she was talking about an invitation to the creatrix, birthing the new earth, everything's connected. It was absolutely one of the
Was
best
that
and
your
most
first time
amazing.
doing plant medicine?
It was my first time doing plant
Will
medicine.
you do
Yeah.
this again?
I would love to do it. I'd like to sit out for this, but I think what she told me in a nutshell was, it was pretty much maybe what I needed to know.
Oh, that's really,
It was beautiful, because I have a son that turns 18 in about a week.
that's a
And
lot.
so it was, I had fears of like holding on and letting go. And she's like, well, we gave him to you as a gift. And so now it's your turn to return him to the world. But in that process, we gave you another gift, which was 8 billion. So she said, it's a new chapter in your life. Like, like when people like Shari, right? When we become empty nesters, it's like we oftentimes will think, well, our life is done. Like, what else? Like, she just birthed me a new life. And she was like, this is going to be your baby. Like,
Wow, I have shivers all over.
I know, everyone's like, I have full body shivers. I was like, I know. And I didn't even really intend to, because at the place that I was at, a lot of people were telling me that I really didn't need plant medicine. And intuitively, I felt that. But I knew she called me in, because I think that at this place in time in history, and with me launching season 5 and now moving on to documentary film, she wanted to just solidify where I was at. So if there was any fears of doing anything, it would be shed.
Wow. I love that just so much, because it's like we're human. We have form. We have, like, we're here for however many years we're here in a human body and a human mind that gets in our way sometimes, but then you hear a call and you go for it, and it's beyond
It's
what
yeah.
we know.
It's like the void, and then it's like whoosh.
There you go. And I've been toying with the idea of doing plant medicine, but I have a little fear around it still.
Well, if you ever want to get on a private call with me, I'll go over all the details with you. It's
Thank you.
beautiful.
I have a very big curiosity about that.
We will. We will do this outside of our podcast interview, but I can't believe how fast these 45 minutes go and blow through. And it's been such an honor to have you on here, connecting with you here, and then of course outside. So I know we are going to stay really good friends, Shari, because I do need someone. I do need a writer. So, but one of the last questions that I want to ask, and I've been asking this amongst all my guests for season 5D, as you know, I would love to make this a time capsule for human consciousness. If someone were to come across this video of you and I, a digital video, about 50, 100 years from now, what would be the one thing that you would like to say to them?
It always was and always will be about love, period. And it sounds so cliched because, like, what is love? But no, I'm not talking about the human, I need you, you're my mother, I need a partner love. There is a universal energy that is love. And from the beginning of time until beyond the end of time, that's all there is. There's nothing else. So we just have to tap into that.
Oh, so beautiful, Shari. That was one of the most beautiful ones. I was like, if I had this to launch the season, I would be like, that would be it. Do you hear that,
Well, you
audience?
can use it anytime because I know you feel that, and it's not mine, it's all of ours.
It's
Like,
all of ours.
we forget, we get so caught up. Anyways, I know you have to go. My time is running out. I think I'm going to say I love you.
I love you too. Shari, if anyone wants to find you really quick, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
ShariReinhart.com.
Awesome. And it's go
ShariReinhart.com. And I love to hang out on Facebook, as you know, and I love to meet people there. So anyone can ask me any question they have about their book and I will answer it.
Well, there you go. So anyone also check on the show notes. All her information will be there. Shari, thank you from the bottom of my heart in this lifetime and infinitely. Thank you so much. And to the and to the audience who tuned into this week's episode with Shari Reinhart, thank you so much. And I will catch you on the next episode of 8 Billion Podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the 8 Billion Podcast. If it's moved you in any way, please share your thoughts or give us a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. To listen to more episodes, go to 8billionpodcast.com, or to learn more about our mission, go to 8billionproject.com.